Healthy Rebel Radio is sponsored by the Healthy Rebel app. 300 plus secretly healthy, delicious, mouth-watering dessert and treat recipes made with all-natural, whole food ingredients. Now available for download on the App Store and Google Play. Find out more details at healthyrebel.com.
Welcome to Healthy Rebel Radio. I'm your host, Dr. David Dizer. I'm here with my Damien Health Healthy Rebel co-founder, Amy Lane. Good morning.
Good morning.
We're back.
We're back.
What a ride.
What a ride.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I can barely take it.
Thank you. We have a special guest here today.
We do have a special guest, and she's sleeping. Thank God.
Yeah, so there may be some squeaks or some noises, but...
She's been pretty good, though.
Yeah.
And we have tried to get back to the show a couple times, but mornings have just not been a time for sleep.
Yeah, she wasn't feeling it.
If you're not sure what we're talking about, we had a baby 4 weeks ago.
4 weeks ago, yeah. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Time flew.
She's perfect.
She is perfect.
Time did fly, though. My God.
Her name is True, and she's...
It's sweet and pretty.
She's so sweet.
But I'm saying the name suits her, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
it's funny because we had other names picked out, but when we met her, she was just more gentle and more sweet than I had anticipated. Like, I thought she'd be a little more fiery.
Yeah.
And then she was just so gentle and sweet that she was just True. That's her name.
Yeah. That's perfect.
Today
on the show, we wanted to talk about some of the things you sort of went through and used and did. And you followed the conventional, advanced naturopathic protocol that would be specific to someone who's doing a vegan pregnancy. Things turned out really well, so we're very proud of the way that we did it, and I guess we should just cover some of the things that you did. So
yeah, today we'll cover kind of the natural vegan pregnancy that I did with following the naturopathic protocol, everything you guys had me doing, and then my natural birth story, I guess. Yeah. Which is just shocking that it happened.
Totally shocking. Basically, we didn't expect you to go through a natural birthing process, basically because it hasn't happened in many generations. It's always been C-section.
Right. In my family, it's been generations of sections. And I'm the smallest boned female in my family. And we just didn't see it coming. We planned for it. We'll talk about everything that I did to try to make it happen, and I really set it out there that I wanted her to come naturally. But in the back of my mind, I was also, prepared for whatever had to take place. And all I've witnessed is sections with my sisters.
Yeah, and you were just saying, oh, no big deal. If it goes that way, then we'll just move over and do it.
There's nothing, it would be out of my hands, and, I kind of put it out to the highest good. Whatever the highest good is. But I set my intention and did my best for 10 months to try to get her to come naturally. Yeah. And it actually happened. It did. And not only happened in a wonderful way.
Yeah, I mean, it was only, 8 hours? Something like that?
Yeah, let's go over the pregnancy stuff first, then we'll go into the natural birth story.
I'm so excited.
It's hard, just, it's such a life-transforming experience.
We started out... with we should start with diet, I guess. You're a vegan, everyone knows that. And you had planned to do a vegan pregnancy, and you were able to pull it off. They started with a few tests, of course.
Right.
B12.
My blood tests. So just to make sure that, obviously, being a vegan is something I'm very passionate about, but I'm not in denial that there can be holes in a vegan diet, like any diet. Now, I'm not saying specifically a vegan diet. I mean, any human diet. And, I can get blind spots. I'm so busy taking care of everyone else's situations. We all can get blinders on. So we wanted to make sure with the facts, which are the numbers, make sure that my iron levels, my B12 levels, everything was on par.
We checked your thyroid. We did complete blood cell count. We did everything.
And how did that all turn out?
It all was perfect. Optimal, in fact.
Was optimal before I made any adjustments.
Definitely. Before we even considered making adjustments. Now, here's the thing. There's... The reason this is even in question is because there's so many people doing vegan diets who are like high carb, high pastry. Everything they eat is brown and from a box.
That's right.
That's a real problem.
Or it's all the fake meats, you know.
Oh,
but
gosh.
That's never been. I mean, maybe when I first started becoming vegan, that's how I kind of shifted into it, and we call that a pudding vegetarian or vegan.
I think when we first started, when you first started, it was more non-organic tofu, which we know now is an issue. Mm. But you were still high on the vegetables.
My main diet is vegetables followed by fruits, whole grains, beans, legumes, and I try to rotate often.
Yeah, I mean the biggest difference I think from your regular diet to the diet that we began in the first trimester was a little bit more whole grains, a little bit more nuts and seeds.
Definitely more fat, healthy fats, more nuts and seeds. You're right, and I would add coconut oil to things more often, and definitely more healthy carbs. I followed the Bikini Body program. That's how I live, and basically I ate that while pregnant, except for with supper I always had a healthy carb. You
turned it up a notch with some. Yeah. I mean, you need a few extra 100 calories. The first trimester you don't really need any extra, but then it goes to like 200 to 300, and then it goes to for sure 300, and then in breastfeeding is 400 extra. It's not a huge change.
No, it's so easy to obtain through healthy foods. You know, if we're talking about nuts, you know, a small little tiny scoop of nuts is well over 100 calories. So I mean,
it's easy.
It's really easy. A tablespoon of nut butter is 100 calories.
In the first trimester, I think it was more because of the way you were feeling.
Yeah,
we needed a little bit more of a heavier food.
The fats, you had this theory that if I got fats first thing in the morning and that salt, because I also have really low blood pressure, that it would help with morning sickness, and it worked.
It did, sort of right away.
I was resistant to it because it's not how I eat. I never have fats in the morning, but I was really struggling with morning sickness, and David got me these salted mixed nuts, and I'd have them just first thing before anything, and it really helped. It really did.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Some of the other things, well, I guess with regards to diet, you did a prenatal, Thorne Basic Prenatal, 3 caps a day. Mm-hmm. And was there any other supplementation in the first trimester? I think that was
nothing
pretty
special,
much it.
No.
Everything else stopped, of course.
Yeah, and everything, all the other things I stopped taking, but and by that I mean I was trying the C collagen at the time, and green tea, and I'm always testing things, so I stopped that all right away. With the prenatal, one thing I did find that helped is I switched from taking it in the morning to taking it before bed, after supper, before bed, and that really, really helped.
Yeah, that was smart.
Yeah.
One thing about the Thorne Basic Prenatal, getting a professional line prenatal is you're going to get the active form of B vitamins.
Yeah.
You're going to get the methylfolate and the methylcobalamin. These are B9 and B12 that are already ready to be used by the body.
Right.
Also, the dose of B9 in the professional line products gets you up to a level that we think is suitable.
Right.
A lot of the other ones, even they're in inactive form, and then the dose is even a little too low. So it's nice to use a professional line product in that case.
Definitely.
Some of the other things you start in the first trimester that I think should be included are the things like affirmations and visioning and meditating. Tell us a little bit about that.
So right away, I first of all, we were surprised. This was not a planned pregnancy. So right away I had to shift into, okay, what were the things that I had thought about that I wanted to do, because I wasn't prepared.
No.
So right away.
But you had already thought about it before.
Definitely. I mean, I'm a planner in my head. So
Type A coming through.
Exactly. So I always knew that I wanted to have a very zen pregnancy. I wanted to shut part of my brain down and just be a really zen presence to carry this child. I wanted to be an optimal, in an optimal space. So right away I basically seeked out some positive birth stories, which I found in the Ina May. What is that book called?
I don't know.
We'll link it.
It's a very famous book about the birth farm.
Yeah, the birthing farm or something like that. basically it's a bunch of midwives, and they have a very low C-section rate, and they share a bunch of really powerful positive stories about birth, which in today's society is so hard to seek out. It's like, and it's not that there's less positive birth stories, it's just that when people have a bad experience, it tends to be louder.
Well, yeah, it's so vivid and dramatic,
and a lot of people, hang on to those types of things and stew on them. Not to dismiss, there are some really horribly and hard stuff that goes on. So I'm not saying that.
It's hard to ignore.
Definitely not. But I feel like sometimes we hang on to that stuff really, really hard, and I feel like we should hang on to the positive stuff just as hard. I think it would be a really positive thing for women to hear positive birth stories. I never heard them. Mm-hmm. All I ever heard was tragedy. I was petrified. Mm-hmm. So just reading, because I couldn't find those people in my life, the positive birth stories, at first, I'll talk about later that they did come out of the woodwork, but they're hard to find. And right away when I said I was pregnant, people were messaging me horrible things.
Yeah.
In my life. Just terrible. Like, wait until this happens.
Look up for this. It's going to be miserable.
It was awful. So seeking out that book really gave me a sense of, okay, good things, it gave me stories in my subconscious, in my conscious, good birth happens. The other book that I got was the hypnobirthing. And the only,
yeah, that was cool.
It's a great thing, and the only caveat I will say is I am a realist, so you have to put it in your mind that, I'm sure there's people out there that just have these orgasmic births. I'm sure it does happen. But,
for sure.
But I will say that I had an amazing birth, and I don't hold, there's no negative emotion towards it. But to say there's no pain,
yeah, that's pretty bold. No matter what.
In my experience, is delusional to say. Now, it's completely tolerable. It's completely, you will survive, and you can handle it. If I can, you can, kind of deal. Like, God. So
I don't know. I've been questioning your pain tolerance for a long time, about how much more significant it is than mine, and this was direct proof. I think.
No, it's not. It's a mindset, and I'll talk about the mindset that I went into as soon as I went into labor when we talk about that. But they did provide me with wonderful stories, wonderful tips in that book. They put you in well, maybe this could be a good experience, right? Maybe this isn't so tragic. Maybe this is tolerable. Also, the pushing techniques really, really helped. And the affirmations and meditations. A lot of the times I'd put the meditations on and I'd pass out. I'd fall asleep. Yeah. But they'd still go into my subconscious. I'd still let them play.
Absolutely. I think, like you said, one of the core things from that experience was the breathing technique. Going through the fundamentals. It seems simple, but I think it's really beneficial. It
really, really helps, and I really, really suggest getting that book early and doing the breathing techniques. And this sounds crazy, but while you use the washroom, right away. It sounds crazy. Mm-hmm. Just do it.
Get used to it, yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah, that ended up being your main position.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, we'll talk about that later.
So, is that too much?
No, we'll talk about it. I'm just shocked.
I don't know. Is that because you were practicing there?
Probably.
Maybe.
God,
I don't know.
That, and I use the bathroom as a safe zone. It's really strange. We'll talk about that. It's really weird. I'm shocked.
It's not that weird. Come on.
I'm shocked by my own behavior.
Yeah.
I'm not a naked person. I'm not
you weren't, but now things are a little different.
I am a prude when it comes to things. So this whole experience just blew my world wide open.
Definitely. Some of the other things that began in the first trimester, of course, were maintaining the exercise level. The recommendations are to do the exact same things you were doing before.
Yeah.
And you pretty much did that.
Yeah, I did. The only thing is the intensity did come down some, and that in the first trimester was because I was nauseous. Mm. It wasn't because of any other thing.
It wasn't a physical deficit. It was...
But not... I exercised every single day of my pregnancy.
Yeah.
There was no...
No, do you remember when you were 8 months pregnant, we were walking up the hill towards our condo, and there was a woman who was pregnant for, I don't know, she was just showing.
Yeah, just a little tiny.
And she whispered to her friend,
oh my God, she's walking.
Oh my God, she's walking.
That's how uncomfortable I looked.
I'm pushing it.
And it was
up this hill.
Well, how hot was it this summer?
It was hot.
It was insanely hot. And I'm short, so the only place for this belly to go was out. Yeah. And it was something. And I remember this woman just like, oh my God, what is she doing? Yeah. Doing hills. Yeah.
The squats and the special stretching, was that in the first trimester as well? Or was
I started the stretching in the first trimester. I didn't get heavy into the squats until the second trimester because I didn't realize how important they were. Mm-hmm. But I did all the exercises for opening your pelvis. And my family thinks it's hilarious that they just think it's hilarious. I don't know why this makes them laugh, but it does. I would tell them that I was doing these exercises, and they'd be like, what the heck do you mean? Yeah. And I would be really vague, just because I thought it was funny that they found it funny. But different squatting, different, lunges, as many as you can do a day. Mm-hmm.
As many.
And every time you're sitting, and have some time, stretch your pelvis. Mm-hmm. Do it.
Yeah. This really came into play in the second trimester when things were going so smooth.
Yeah.
First trimester was it's obviously a challenge, it's shocking to the body, everything's changing, and then second trimester was really easy.
Second trimester was so fun and so freeing, and you're not nauseous and you have a bump, yet you're not holding any extra water, and you can still do all the things, and I was exercising like a freak. In the second trimester, I would do cardio in the morning, do all my weights, do all that, then later in the afternoon, Dave and I would go for a hike. Mm-hmm. I was in my prime in the second trimester.
Yeah, you really were. We made note of how much easier it was than the first trimester.
Oh, it felt good.
Mm-hmm. Then when things shifted over into the third trimester, it was a bit different.
By the 8th trimester, it was really...
The 8th month, you mean?
The 8th month, yeah. It was 8th trimester, that's what it felt like.
Right.
The 8th month, it got rough. But that's because, again, I'm 5'1", and my bones are tiny. Mm-hmm. So the extra weight felt like it just was really intense. I was peeing every 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. She was sitting, I don't know if this is too much information, but the way she was sitting on my cervix for 2 months. Mm-hmm. And so certain movements I would do would be a stabbing pain. It was just...
Lightning crotch.
Yeah, lightning crotch. I had that. And then
What did I call it one time? Thunder.
Thunder crotch. And
that was wrong. Wrong weather system.
That was so funny. You were like, oh, you having thunder crotch? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I... Yeah. It was all...
You're thinking of lightning.
So I had that. And then I also, for the last month, I had contractions. So... It was, and I also had the round ligament stuff, so it was painful. Yeah. And I was heavy, and I was hot. Summer here was really, really hot, and I was swollen, and... I mean,
you say you're heavy, but it felt heavy. I think if we were to measure the weight gain that you actually went through, it was probably right in the range that you'd want.
Oh, for sure.
Because the range is what 20 to 30 pounds.
Yeah.
And you think you probably gained less than 30.
I would say, because I was 30 pounds heavier when before I started, say, the Bikini Body program, and when I look at pictures of me from being that pregnant, obviously mm-hmm. the belly's different, but I'm not as thick.
Right.
There's not as extra weight. So I mean, maybe.
But before mentioning what we did in the third trimester, I think. On that topic, it's important to go over what you did for treats, because that's where most of the weight gain usually comes from.
Right.
You need to gain 20 to 30 pounds to support the baby, but beyond that, it's fat cell development.
Right.
And in terms of fat cell development for you, I think you kept it at bay because of this. You had cravings.
Yeah.
But we talked about it on the show a few times.
So I would crave a salty something sweet. So I would get sweet potato chips. And I'm talking, this happened 2 or 3 times in almost 10 months, because I was pregnant almost 10 months. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing was cashew vegan ice cream. Yeah, and I had that 4 times.
That ice cream craving, it did come, but this new cashew ice cream,
it was perfect.
Is amazing.
It was perfect.
It's so good.
Who was it by? Soy Nice?
Silk, I think. Oh my gosh, is it Soy Nice or Nice or Silk? Let me look it up.
Anyway, we'll link it, and it's cashew based, and it is divine. So I had that 4 times in the 10 months. And outside of those things, And outside of like my treats that I made, like I made my Oreo bars one time, my vegan Oreo bars, and outside of that, that's all I kept on plan.
Okay, the brand is So Delicious, dairy free. It's called. God, we were way off. So Delicious. It's called.
And it's the cashew.
The cashew.
Base.
They have different cashew base, but what was the one you really liked?
Well, I like the plain cashew one, and then there's like a salted caramel one too.
Oh yeah, salted caramel cluster.
That one and the plain one.
Yeah, so
delicious. So, and the way I kept my mindset about that was, it's not doing anything beneficial to eat a bunch of junk food for the baby, and I really wanted to be the healthiest I could be for her. So I kept thinking in my mind, like, if you want to have junk, you can have it later, where just you're the only one who would be, affected by this. So that's what I focused on, and it really worked for me.
Yeah, it was great. In the third trimester, you started a few things that are obviously important for people to do.
Yes.
You started the raspberry tea right away.
Yes.
And this is a common traditional remedy used to improve the effectiveness of contractions when labor finally comes.
Right, so it can make your contractions more effective, so your labor could be shorter.
People who drink raspberry tea report good things.
I'm telling you.
And you did it very consistently.
I did it super consistently. I did everything I did. I just completely surrendered to giving it my all.
Mm-hmm. You did.
Yeah.
And I think that dedication is, well, I mean, it's what you're all about.
Yes.
But when it comes to these last few things, you were very specific about following the protocol.
Yes.
So you did the raspberry tea, and you did that consistently. Now, the reason one of the reasons I wanted to get into this today is because you had a question on Facebook of, did the dates work? What was this dates?
I read this thing in basically like the last few weeks of being pregnant, probably the last 2 months, there was a study about having 6 dates a day basically shortening labor. And the facts of the study, all that stuff.
Yeah, let's post it. Yeah. I'll post it.
I think it's actually in the recipe that
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we can link it there. And the recipe as well. So I was like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I will try.
Easy, let's do it.
I will try anything. So to say I committed to that one was probably about 85%.
Which is still really good.
Yeah. Most days I had them. Some days I would literally forget. Like, you just lose your mind at the end. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing this. So some days I forgot, but some days I had more. So really balanced out. But again, did that do the thing? I don't know.
Yeah, right. And then some other things with some research, or probably stronger research than that little date study, would be using probiotics and DHA from omega-3s in the third trimester. So you did both of those things. They're both for preventing allergies, eczema, the atopic triad, allergies, eczema, and asthma. There's some good research to show that probiotics are very effective in doing so you did that.
Yeah.
And you did the HMF Forte, which is 10 billion once a day.
Mm-hmm.
And then the DHA, so this is for cognitive development. I mean, we had the B vitamins, we made sure that was under control. You got tested a couple times, but then this DHA from omega-3s is also very important in cognitive development. So you did that in the third trimester.
And that was an algae-based.
Yeah, you did. So you did the NutriVeg,
right, which is
the vegan omega-3s by Ascenta. And the reason I like this one, 0 parts per billion mercury again, but also high doses of DHA.
Yeah.
So you can get these doses with a vegan supplement. It's awesome. Anyhow, so you did that one, and then you also did a bit of magnesium in the third trimester as well.
I did, because I was having some cramping.
Yeah, and that was helpful.
Yeah.
So that was but you also, of course, kept on track with the prenatal. Very important.
Yeah, and exercise, water, food.
This is when the squats came in.
And then the squats turned it up heavy.
Yes.
And also the meditations and the daily affirmations and the visioning started. So I would vision the birth process.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Then we hit the 40-week mark. So we thought the baby was coming at 37 weeks because you were so pregnant.
So pregnant. And everybody kept saying, oh my gosh, you must be having that baby.
Yeah, this is coming.
Like, and when people start thinking, like, oh, you're going to pop any minute, I don't know why, but I thought in my head, well, then I'm going to.
Yeah, sure, here it comes.
Yeah.
Anyhow, then we get to 40 weeks.
Then 40 weeks arrived.
So 40 weeks came along, and that's when we made a little bit of a shift. What do we add in? We added in the mother's cordial tincture, which is a traditional herbal remedy for making labor easier, bringing on labor, and helping to shorten the labor process. So that was great. I mean, so
again,
and then you did some high dose probiotics as well, which we found helpful.
Yeah.
So those two things, and then labor started the next day? It was crazy.
Yeah, but here's the controversy. Our dates for being pregnant, one date said that we were 41 weeks in 3 days.
Yes.
The other one said we were 40 weeks in 3 days.
Then we got the dating ultrasound information back from it. Was not the dating ultrasound. It was a 20-week ultrasound.
Yeah, it wasn't dating.
Okay, now you're actually only 40 weeks in 3 days. And that's when you did the mother's Cordial tincture, the different probiotic, which was a higher dose, and then the next day, things changed.
Things changed.
So you started labor.
So that day, we had a normal day. David worked, I worked. Then we went for an hour and a half walk at the beach.
Yeah.
Then we went and got groceries. Everything was normal.
Yeah, we came home.
The 2 days before, I had a lot of energy, which is weird.
Yeah, that was a bit
I got
different.
a bump in energy. I was more energetic than I had been in a while. Anyway.
And then that night, the contractions started to get closer and closer and stronger and stronger.
So I had been having contractions, so I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah, that was Braxton Hicks for months.
So that night, I started having contractions. And the only thing that was different is there was some blood.
Yeah.
But I thought, this has been going on.
You didn't think it was anything.
I didn't. So the contractions started at what time? 10 p.m. So David's starting to get amped up and counting stuff. I'm not counting anything.
I'm counting, and it's going very quickly.
Very quickly, and I'm in complete denial. And I'm like, this isn't labor, this is just more,
same old Braxton
Hicks, whatever.
Except now they're 4 minutes apart, they're lasting for longer than a minute.
But I stayed in denial.
Yeah.
I was like, no, because it was tolerable. It was period cramps mixed with an upset belly.
Yeah.
It just wasn't, and I was like, okay, I can it still wasn't stopping me in my tracks kind of deal. And Dave's like, no, this is getting more intense.
Then it's 2 minutes apart, then it's a minute and a half apart.
So at what time did you convince me to let you call the midwife?
10:45, something like that.
So at 10:45, David finally was like, just let me call her.
It's been happening consistently.
So he calls the midwife, and she came. And she came to check on me. And it's funny because we had a midwife appointment that morning, actually, too.
So it's the same midwife because she's on call.
Right. So, and she's like, I saw a lot of people today, and I did not think you were going to be the one to go into labor. So she came, and when she checked me, I was 4 centimeters.
She said, wait 2 to 4 hours, give me another call, and then we'll decide.
She said, stay home, just chill. Try to stay home till 4.
This was at 11:30.
Yeah, this was 11:30. She said, try to stay home till 4-ish. Yeah. That'd be a good goal. And, then we can proceed to the hospital if this progresses. It may not. Yeah. She was preparing us to, this could take a couple days, but, calm down.
Were you doing anything special at that time? I mean...
I was just doing the breathing.
Just the breathing techniques.
And at that time I was in such denial, I didn't move into the mindset yet.
Right.
But I was like, this is tolerable. This is okay.
So around 2 a.m. it became intolerable.
So right before 2, though, I was having contractions and then sleeping in between. Yeah. Which was weird.
That was weird.
I started passing out.
I don't think that's common. Maybe it is. I'm not sure.
I started falling asleep in between. Yeah. That was very odd. Yeah. And you were like...
You can't sleep right now. This is not a good time for this.
So Dave's doing all the counting and whatever, and he's like, I just think this is escalating quite quickly. And I was like, at 2, I was like... Okay, this is definitely more pain.
Yeah.
And I had to
the pain increased. That was the reason.
I had to stop and I had to really concentrate, and I had to really breathe and go within during the contractions, and everything started irritating me. I was like, Dave, put on something funny, and then I was irritated by that. Dave, do this, and then I was irritated by it. So I thought, okay, something's changing here. And at that time, you started doing some pressure on my hips for me, and I said to him, okay, this feels different, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna call her, and I was still like, no, I don't know. I couldn't figure it out. So...
I called her and told her the timing. The timing was basically, this is just a constant contraction continuously.
And then did you decide, or did she decide to go to the hospital?
You said, I need pain medication.
Oh, okay, yeah. I said, I need drugs.
Yeah. I need drugs. So we go to the hospital at 2 a.m. You get there and say, I want drugs.
Okay, right before we left, I vomited.
Yeah, you did. That was weird.
And that was really weird.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so we get in the car, we're driving there, and it was different, the amount of pain. And I was like, okay, this isn't like fun anymore. This is like legit. So we get in there, and I'm like, I want drugs. All the drugs. Bring me all the drugs that ever were drugs. And where you go into admitting, you're beside other people in admitting that are in labor. And
absolutely losing it.
Losing their minds. So I was beside this poor woman that was losing her shit. So at this time, I still wasn't making verbal noises. Everything was internal. I was in a very zen mindset. And then this woman beside me was losing it. And she was yelling at her husband. And her husband was saying really not supportive things. And it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
So I was getting upset. And I was like, okay, I need drugs. Like, everyone get the drugs. Yeah. So I had to wait in there, and I had to go through some contractions in this really uncomfortable environment with another person having contractions, and I can't explain what that did to my mindset. That
was hard. So then they said, okay, determining which drugs you're going to get, we already knew you're 4 centimeters dilated at that point, so it might have been too late to do conventional morphine, because you can't do morphine late in labor. So we have to do a physical exam before we can decide if you're going to do morphine or if you're going to go to something like an epidural or something like that.
Which seemed like a nightmare at the time to me, because my contractions were so strong, and I was like, I just can't imagine being checked.
And then they did the physical exam right away. Well, I mean, not right away. We sat there for a while. But then the physical exam came along, and they said, oh, wait, you're 8 centimeters dilated.
Yeah, and the midwife was like, yeah, I didn't see this coming. Like, this is really quick.
I don't know that you're going to need drugs because this baby could be here any second. And you said, okay, let's do it. So we moved upstairs.
Yeah.
And then
she's like, if you want drugs, we can get drugs, but let's just go see. Let's get you in the tub.
Yes. And so this is like 2:30. And then we're in the tub, and then at 3 a.m. in the tub, the water breaks.
Yeah.
And
we just kept putting off the drugs.
Well, I think you forgot because you were so in the zone. Things had changed.
Yeah, so when I got upstairs, I moved into the mindset. When she said to me, you're 8 centimeters, that shocked me. Because I thought she was going to say, like, you're 5 and it's this painful. And I was like, okay, I can't do this. When she told me I was 8, I was like, okay, maybe I can do this.
Yes.
So when we got upstairs and she's like, let's try the tub before we go into drugs. Because the key is with the midwives is you communicate what you want, and then they remind you and guide you.
Yeah, and they keep you safe. So you were saying drugs, and she was saying, wait a second here, let's see where we are.
But she wouldn't have said that if I had said on my form, or any of my consultations for the last 9 months, that I wanted drugs.
Yeah,
I told her I didn't. So I want to be very clear that she guided me to what my choices were and reminded me of what my choices were.
It was perfect.
But if I wanted to, she would have been, here's the drugs. Right away.
For sure.
So, that's our little baby. So, things shifted. When we were going upstairs, all I remember is, okay, now's the time to really woman up. And I, in my head, reminded myself that every person that is on the earth was born, which means a woman gave birth to that person. So I really started breathing into all the women that ever gave birth. And I started breathing into that strength. And I was like, all these women have done it. I can do it. All these women have done it. I can do it. And as strange as it is, I started thinking of women in other countries where they don't have pain medication, where they just give birth and, there's no... It's just what they do. So I started breathing into that and reminding myself, all these women have done this. And then the other thing I reminded myself of, which I have to say it was one of your colleagues that gave me this thing, you can do anything for 24 hours. You can survive anything for 24 hours.
Yeah.
And I kept saying that. You can do anything. I've been through really hard stuff that didn't have the outcome of birthing a child. So
right, for sure.
I started reminding myself of those things, and I just kept ruminating. Every time a negative thought would come up, like, oh my God, I can't do this pain, I'd breathe into it, and then I'd be like, all these women have done it.
Yeah.
And I can do anything for 24 hours. So I really went into that, and I swear I got into I was like, not all there.
Yeah, you were in the zone at that point.
And I remember at one point looking at you or her in the eyes, and I thought, can they see that I'm not all here right now? Like,
yeah, right.
I felt like I was on drugs.
Yeah.
Like, I felt in a different zone.
Yeah. It was pretty incredible.
And I really shut down time. I was like, okay, it's their job to look at the time. It's their job to guide me. All I have to do is ride these waves. And with the contractions, the best advice I can give people is breathe into them and don't resist them. As strange as it sounds, because it's your physical impulse to try to protect yourself from this pain. Mm-hmm. But the more you breathe into it and relax into it.
Until the very end.
So, I used the tub, and as strange as this is going to sound, I used the toilet.
Yeah. Because
it made my hips feel wide.
I think it's more common than you think.
Maybe people don't talk about it.
I'm pretty sure.
It felt really weird.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that progressed pretty quickly, and by...
The baby was here at 6:30.
6:24.
6:24, yeah.
She was born.
Pretty incredible.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. We had to try a bunch of different positions because she was kind of stuck at one point.
Well, just at the very end, I mean, the way that we had a great midwife and nurse team.
The nurse and the midwife were equally amazing. Mm-hmm. They were exactly what I needed.
And then they were only people in the room, and they were just putting you through the different positions and doing the movements, and, you know, eventually she just came out.
And they whispered the whole time. Yeah. Did you notice that?
Yeah, they were very calm.
They were very zen, which I really, really appreciated.
Yeah, it was great.
But, yeah.
And it was, I mean, amazing. And then we had a baby. And
yeah, it was kind of scary at the very end because I had gotten out of the tub and I was going to the bed because she was going over basically, these are the things you need to know if you want to have the baby in the tub. And I was like, it made me scared because I wasn't prepared for it. And she's like, no worries, let's just go to the bed.
Because it wasn't something that we pre-discussed. We didn't know that it would be so beneficial.
Yeah, I wanted to use it for pain management and all that stuff. But anyway, then we moved to the bed but when we were moving, I could feel she was there.
Yeah, it was time.
And that scared me.
Yeah.
Because it's a feeling you can't prepare yourself for.
Right.
Like, there's a baby coming out of my body.
Yeah.
Like, I knew it was going to happen, but anyway, and then she came, and we did the whole thing without any drugs, without any intervention.
Incredible. Total labor was 8.5 hours. Pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just the most amazing experience. I mean, it changes you to be there and to experience it,
does,
right?
Doesn't it?
It's especially when it's your child. Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Yeah, it was. I still think about it. Like
she's perfect.
She is perfect.
Yeah.
And how much did she weigh?
She weighed 6 pounds and 14 ounces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big hands, big feet.
Big hands, big feet. And now she's probably 8 pounds now.
Oh my gosh, she's so heavy. She's my little milk
drunk baby. It's good workout. It's good arm workout.
It is good workout. But yeah, she's perfect.
So that's the birth story. I mean, that's everything you did.
Yeah.
And it turned out extremely well, and you know, healthy baby, healthy mama.
Yeah.
So excited.
Yeah.
And we were home 24 hours later.
Yeah. And it's so funny because the midwife said, like, basically as, like, I think she still, like, was attached. She was like, well, the next one you'll probably have her in 4 hours.
Yeah, right. And we'll do it from home.
Yeah, and we'll do it from home.
We're like, okay, great.
But
sounds good. It was usually the second baby's a little quicker. And at 8 hours, they were very, very pleased with how it went. And they said, okay, the next one will be easier.
And they knew, and my midwife, of course, knew my history of sections in my family. So this was a huge feat. Like, all of us were, like, celebrating because it changed my family history.
Yeah.
And having a female, it makes it that much more powerful because now she has the option.
Definitely.
When she has my positive story for her, you know, it changes everything.
Yeah, it really does.
It's a really powerful...
It'll definitely reduce fear, that's for sure.
That's for sure.
Yeah, pretty incredible. So that's the birth story. Anything else to add?
No, it's just, I will tell anybody that's pregnant, like, surround yourself in positive information. And if you don't have it in your personal life, that's not an excuse not to surround yourself with it. Because, like I said, I didn't have it, which is so funny because when I started reading all the positive birth stories, positive birth women started coming out of the woodwork, but they're not loud. They'd private message me, they'd private email me, and they'd say things like, there's just no point of me publicly saying this stuff because people will argue with me.
Right, for sure.
So,
we saw some of that too.
Yeah, and we did see that. So, you know.
The other thing is surround yourself with people who know what they're doing.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
We had a great
shout out to our midwives because they were an incredible team. They were the West Side midwives in here in Vancouver, and we had the blue team.
Yeah.
And
is that what they were? The blue tea?
I
don't
think
know.
so.
I don't know.
Lena.
Yeah, Lena and Francis and two other names, Jasmine
Taya.
and Taya. Yeah,
And
awesome.
I only worked with Taya, Lena, and then at the end Francis.
Right.
But Lena delivered our baby, and I can just say I can't explain. She was just exactly what you need.
Mm-hmm.
She was very good at feeling what you needed to hear, what you didn't need to hear. Who needs to be in the room? Like, she just was amazing guidance. I'm just beyond grateful that it worked out, that she was, and the nurse too. And I wish I knew her name because she was so incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
She was a young.
Oh, I remember her name. Because she made the joke that we should name the baby after her.
Yeah.
What was it? Jacqueline. There you have it.
Yeah.
BC Women's Jacqueline.
Yeah, and she was incredible.
Yeah.
She was really, really
She was
great.
great. And then we consulted one day with a naturopath who knows what she's doing.
She's a naturopath and a midwife.
And a midwife. The only person in British Columbia, I believe, who has both titles, because the education for both is extremely long.
Yeah.
Kathy Carlson-Rank.
Yeah, and with Kathy Carlson-Rank, David actually did a phone consultation with questions for me with her. And if you can do that, like, just get
a phone consult.
Just get a phone consult.
The information you can get.
She's so brilliant and knows so much. The one caveat I will say is she has a dry personality.
Definitely.
Very just factual.
Yeah.
And when David kind of slipped in, like, our concerns about section, she basically was like, no, like, you're having this baby naturally. So just know, if you're the type of person that your feelings get hurt easily or you take things personally, she's probably not for you. But if you can look past it and just go straight to the information, and you want someone that knows what they're talking about, I'm telling you.
She's basically, why are you thinking about major surgery here?
Yeah, like she's sassy, but she's
awesome.
so good it doesn't matter. So.
And the reason we have this contact is she's the obstetrics teacher at the naturopathic college.
Right.
So everyone knows her.
Right.
In our community.
Right.
Anyhow.
Anyway.
So great.
Incredible.
Yeah.
We now have a little person that will be here on our episodes.
Yeah, she'll be around.
So if you have any questions or you want more information on anything, leave it in the comments below or on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah, wherever.
And no questions are too personal. So if you privately want some questions answered or anonymously, I'll probably do them on the podcast, but I'll never say your name. You can also just email us at contact@damiehealth.com. And no questions too personal, so go ahead, ask me anything.
For sure. That's great. That's Healthy Rebel Radio for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and leave us a rating. Hope you're having a great day.
So happy to be back.
See you. Healthy Rebel Radio is presented by the online health and wellness center, DamieHealth.com. Since 2009, Amy Lane has successfully coached thousands of women through her signature program, the Bikini Body Program. Join today to work exclusively with Amy to unveil your greatest yet to be from the inside out. Go to DamieHealth.com for more information.
Thank you for listening to Healthy Rebel Radio. Please connect with us on our community pages on Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram, all at the handle @DamieHealth. For weekly recipes, articles, and all our episodes straight to your inbox, join our newsletter at damiehealth.com. You can find all the links discussed in today's episode in the show notes. Thank you for joining us, and see you tomorrow.